to say, I just thought this was a very helpful, productive session. What I wanted to do is gain situational awareness on how Dutchess County is moving forward with the recovery process from Hurricanes Irene and Lee, but really Hurricane Irene was the major factor here. And I got an update on individual assistance, including some of the roll-up of how many individuals here in Dutchess County required assistance from Fema. I got an update on Small Business Administration loan program here in the county. I got an update on public assistance, and then also related insurance claims. And there's some follow-ups, some do-outs that our staff is going to help with in terms of our coordinations with the federal agencies. Most specifically, the project worksheets that have been submitted from Dutchess County, 32 of them, and following up and finding out how long it's going to take to process them so that we can get the money down in here to the county and to the localities. Very important given the current fiscal climate. Tough for towns and counties to plan. They need to get that reimbursement because, fortunately we've not had a hard winter, but knowing how much to budget for snow removal and all of this is impacted by the reimbursement, the certainty of knowing how much they're going to get and then getting it as soon as possible. So that's a big issue that we're going to take back. And then let me also say that, attendant to some of the appropriations that we did in the United States Congress at the end of last year, there is now money for the Emergency Watershed Program, part of NRCS, and so I got an update today. This entity, which is really a team, that came down and did some initial assessments, and we know of a little over half dozen sites that have been approved so far, and we're going to continue to follow up with the details of this. That program is really intended to help localities deal with debris removal requirements that are necessary to lessen the chance that a natural disaster is going to upend roads and communities. So an important piece of legislation, appropriations, but we need to continue to work this all the way through until the money is actually appropriated and the work is done. So more work to be done there. So I found this very productive. I see that the county exec is off to a strong start here. I'm not surprised. Great team that he's inherited, and it's been great to be with you.
Well, the congressman covered all of it, but just knowing that, well, twofold. One, we welcome Patty Homan back to Dutchess County in this capacity, yeah. But to know that the congressman first has expressed not only interest in knowing really the initial damage and the now response, but to come back and follow up on our progress and then advocate certainly for his constituents throughout the district is, well, we're very grateful for that. But I think the relationship that Dutchess County has with the Congressman's office, now enhanced, but always very cooperative. And the Congressman is correct. I inherited a fairly very effective, and very efficient team. So we just assembled folks from the Department of Emergency Response and Public Works, just to give the Congressman an update on both private and public, both damage, if you will, and then progress as it relates to response. So a couple of the bullets that you're going to follow up on for us, I think, will provide a great deal of assistance. But municipalities today, with limited resources, and certainly the cost related to the storms, and I would offer a limited ability to recharge their revenue thanks to a property tax cap and other things. The cash flow isn't what it used to be. So FEMA's rapid response and the federal government's rapid response will more rapid response will definitely make it easier for many of our municipalities to weather this storm and then move forward through the winter. But as always, it's a great opportunity for us to continue the dialogue with the Congressman, and I certainly am very grateful to the folks who lead Dutchess County government in one capacity or another, even the commandant over here.
That was a yes that I do.
Commander. I'd ask Dana or Charlie. I know Charlie really likes to be on television, so if you want to add anything, just as a general comment for the media, I'm certainly willing to.
Now, as far as the Department of Emergency Response and the Office of Emergency Management, our staff here, we appreciate the opportunity to sit down with the Congressman and the County Executive to relate our progress. progress from the day after the storm and a personal conversation with the congressman as he's riding through his district and, you know, representing his constituents to today. He hasn't forgot about us. He's listened to our concerns, and that's important for us as we continue to serve the residents of the county.
Charlie, you want to give a speech or not at all?
Thank you for coming.
Yes. Just before I do, Jerry or Sue, did you want to add anything? Or
No, I think it's been worthwhile to be able to come and let you let me.
Yeah, Jerry chairs the Public Works Committee, so in the legislature, and of course.
Yes, and thank you for inviting me as well.
Okay. You, Jim, I know you're usually filled with questions. Do you want to
Occasionally.
Just keep in mind that none of these people get paid hourly, so we don't want you to hold on to them too long.
Now, the one part I would clearly have missed is the damage that was incurred during the storm. If it was at 100% the day after, where is it now in terms of how much has been repaired, how much is left to be done?
Actually, I got a great report on that. In terms of the public, the roads and whatnot, very good recovery. You see that these county roads now are basically rebuilt, and so really, largely what's left is we need to get the reimbursement for the work that they've done. Now, I get to look at a wide array. I have 10 counties, and this county has done a great job of wrapping up their requirements. Their 32 project worksheets are submitted, and FEMA is working through them now. They're actually processing them, and what our staff is going to do is find out what are the timelines now that they're in receipt of those 32 PWs. So that's something that we're going to follow up and get back to Dana here in the near term. And then the other piece of this is the one thing that I mentioned, and that is beyond sort of going back and restoring, we feel the need, the prudence to go forward and look at the areas where work should be done so that if we get hit with a hard storm, we lessen the chance that it's going to have significant harm to our public, to our roads and bridges, but also to our communities in terms of flooding. So that's that NRCS, that Emergency Watershed Program. We just had the team down here within the last week. It's basically a task force that comes from all, cuts across the federal and state and local level. And they come down here and actually walk. They have an initial meeting here, then they go walk the ground. And I got briefed today that I believe there's 8 projects that we're looking at approval right now. So we're going to follow up with that. And I know that the money has not only been appropriated, but it's actually been sent down to the state. So I'm going to be tracking that closely, because that's the other thing too, is that there's the appropriations process, and then there's actually the bureaucracy that implements it. And troubleshooting and streamlining that is something that's very important going
A
forward.
specific indication when a town is likely to get reimbursed?
Well, I mean, it varies depending on the project worksheet, but and when it was actually submitted. But I mean, that's one of the details. That's one of the aspects of the details we're going to be following up on.
Thank you.
Is there an estimate of the total amount of monetary damage from last year?
Well, I'll tell you, Governor Cuomo gave the figure for New York State estimate of about $1 billion worth of damage when you look at the storms. And now we have appropriated at the federal level. I'm confident we've appropriated enough money that the federal government's portion of this will be covered. So, and then of course the state has also come forward with plans and appropriations. And so we're in the phase now. Given the fact that we mentioned moments ago, most of the work in a good majority of the areas is done, and that's not the case everywhere. We still have some localities that are going to be recovering for some time, but for Dutchess, we're in the phase where it's a matter of having that documentation, working it through the bureaucratic system, and getting them reimbursement money.
Is there any more narrow estimate, like from the $1 billion in New York State, how much damage was estimated for Dutchess County?
Do you want to give a figure?
Well, depending on individual or public assistance, we can get you that information, do the math right in front of me now. I won't, but I can provide that to you when we're done, if that's all right.
It's a dynamic figure because we start the process with preliminary damage assessments, and then the federal and state governments work with the municipalities on a one-to-one basis to identify their known losses, but also some things that they may have not recognized when they did the preliminary
You may
damage
have,
assessment. So it's dynamic, it's moving along.
Plus, there's a variety of different funding streams and programs that support it. So you may have a better number than we do. I don't know. So.
Is there a place where members of the public can go to get that more detailed information?
Yes, there is. There's a website that provides this information. Where's that reside, Steve? Do you know? They actually, FEMA updates this fairly frequently, where citizens can go on and they can see how much money has actually checks been cut and in the hands of our constituents across the state.
Okay.
There's this on FEMA's website, FEMA.gov. They list disasters by state and by number, and you have to look because there's many of them every year. But each disaster by state is identified, and there's a breakdown on there for that. So for New York, there would be one for Irene and one for Lee, and that information is there as well on FEMA.gov.
Is there a name to this program? I missed the particular program.
Well, there's a number of programs. The one we're
that's
just,
that
the Emergency Watershed Program is
you
the
listed
one.
the five. Okay.
Yeah, the Emergency Watershed Program is the one explicitly for localities, and that's for the debris removal and to help attenuate the chances of a storm hurting a locality in the future. There's the Emergency Conservation Program, that's for farmers, and that's being executed through your FSAs, your local FSAs. There was economic development money that was specifically targeted so we didn't lose jobs here in New York State after the storm. There was community development block grant money, and that really is coming out and has been released from the state level now for about the last 6 to 8 weeks, and will continue going forward. And then finally, there's monies for public assistance for roads and bridges. The individual assistance that I'm tracking right now is 4.6 million, and then for the Small Business Administration, we're tracking 1.2 million, and public assistance I'm tracking at 650,000. These are Dutchess figures.
And that's county only on the
Yeah.
PA. There's more for the towns.
Yeah. So
Anything else?
okay,
All right, thank you.
It's great, thank you.
Thanks.